Hi everyone, Lo-Fi No here, and today I want to give you guys my tier list on the Catalyst weapon and Genshin Impact. So far, I feel like there's not a whole lot of main DPS Catalyst weapons in the game, and so I'm here to provide you guys with this. And it's going to basically talk about all the weapons that we have so far in the game right now. I made this tier list on my Twitch, and if you want to see me play Genshin or other games besides Genshin, then feel free to follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/LoFiNo. So, with any further ado, let's get into the video about it. What Catalyst weapons to run and which ones to just stay away from, in general. So, let's start off with the very first one, which is the Emerald Orb. So the Emerald Orb basically has Element Mastery as its substat, and then on its passive, it talks about upon casting a Vaporize, Element Charge, Frozen, or Hyper Infused Swirl reaction, increase attack by 20 to 40% for 12 seconds. Now, for a 3-star weapon, sadly, I'm gonna label this is D tier. No, my fault. No. I'm gonna... It's kind of hard. C tier. I'm gonna put it in C tier. The reason why I'm saying C tier is because this element mastery, depending on what character you put it with, so to give an example, with... Let's just say you got Yomiku, but you don't have like a 4-star to use, and you're still new to the game per se, and you are looking for a weapon. This weapon will do you good for your using normals, but really deep down, you're going to be saying to yourself, I'd rather just use my element skill element burst, and I'm not really going to think about it too much about using normal, but I'm going to keep it in the back of my head. Okay, the damage is okay. It's very, 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 very down below-ish compared to all the other weapons, and frankly, there's no reason to be using this weapon because you should be able to get a 4-star that can replace this in any given time. But if you just suck at getting any weapon, or like you're just fresh out the box new to Genshin, I would probably say you can use this, but you're going to be replacing this weapon pretty soon. Okay, there's even another 3-star that I reckon that's going to really place it. So, the next thing I'm going to say is the Magic Guide. It has Element Mastery as a substat, and for its passive, increases damage against opponents affected by Hydro and Electro by 12 to 24. To be honest with you, I'm going to put, frankly, what is the point leveling up your normals with this weapon? It's really no point of using it. And again, this is one of the 3-stars that you absolutely will just dodge, like, to save your life. If you are new to Genshin, this is the only reason why you will be using this weapon. But other than that, this weapon has no value. It has nothing to do with the weapon. It has nothing to do with your abilities. Well, my fault. It has something to do with your abilities and all that, but what I'm saying is there's no point of using it. It has no value to help you if you're farther in the game and you're not brand new. Even if you're brand new, you're still going to be replacing this weapon. The damage on it is beyond low compared to other weapons, and I would argue that the Emerald Orb is a lot better than this. Than the Magic Guide. So to be honest with you, I would not be using this weapon. No point. You'll be a waste of time. Okay. Now the otherworldly story. This weapon substat has element recharge, and its passive is each element orb or particle collected restores 1 to 2 HP. Again, this is F tier. What is the point of leveling up your normals with this weapon? No point of using this. This weapon is a shame of even existing. If you have this weapon, you're using this weapon, you're only brand new. That's the only reason why I see you using it. Okay? And if you are using it and you're not brand new, something is mentally wrong with you. Okay, 100%. Or you have somehow found a loophole in Genshin that I don't know about. Okay, nothing more to say on that weapon. Now, the next weapon that we have is the Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayer. The substat is HP, which is, to be honest, I wish it wasn't, but it is what it is. And the passive is whenever switching a character, the new character being on the field will either get 3 buffs. They'll either get an attack buff, a element mastery buff, or a element damage buff. No. Wait. Okay, my fault. So with this weapon, I was saying the Wista, but instead the Thrilling Tales passive makes it to where that, let's just say you put it on character, you get on them, you swap on them. Once you swap off them, the next character will have the attack boost from that weapon. Now this weapon is more as a support, so there's really no reason to use this weapon. And well, I'm talking about for like as a normal DPS weapon. There's no point. You're wasting your time. It's gonna sit in F tier. There's no reason at all. Now, if you're going to like put it on another catalyst, and while you have your main DPS catalyst out, yeah, it holds value. But if we're talking about just on a character that's going to use the weapon and do the damage on the field, this weapon will be F tier, 100%. Now, next weapon will be the Twin Neverite. The Twin Neverite has a good substat, which is crit rate. And the passive on this weapon is defending an enemy, increase their move speed and attack by a certain percent for 15 seconds. Now, I would say this isn't it for normals. It's kind of hard to really pick between these two, C and D per se. It can go in either or, but I reckon that it's more of this ain't it, bro. That's where I'm at. This ain't it for the normal. I would say that the crit rate is the reason why I would put it in C tier, and actually, yeah, I'm gonna keep it in C tier. That's the only reason why I would put it there. But other than that, you're gonna find better weapons. And again, these are just 3 stars. And if you still rocking 3 stars at a very high AR, you either are brain dead or you're on a whole different level than anybody else that plays Catalyst. There's just no way that these weapons are best to use. So, and then I wanna say I wanna move them down to D tier, to be honest, since they're 3 stars. But I'm just gonna keep it here. Okay, but I would not probably use these or any of these. Next weapon is the Black Cliff. Black Cliff pretty much substat has a crit damage substat, and also whenever you kill something, increase your movement speed by 10% while in battle. Gain 8 through 16% element damage bonus every 4 seconds. Max stack is 4. Lasts until the character falls or leaves combat, and you of course have to wait. Crap. Mints. The Black Cliff weapon is a crit damage weapon, and every time you defeat an enemy, so I was right, every time you defeat an enemy, your attack is increased by a certain percent, and it lasts for 30 seconds, and this effect has a maximum of 3 stacks, and the duration of each stack is independent from one another. I will actually sit this in C. This will actually be in C. And you know what? We're gonna, yeah. So right here, that's how we're gonna do it. Because it doesn't feel right to put a 4-star here, and 4-star here. So this weapon It's just like every other Black Cliff weapon. They're good, but versing a boss, it's not helpful because the passive is useless. It's more of a stat stick, and that's it. Um, Now, fighting groups of enemies, it shows promise, but I would recommend that it has to at least be at refinement 5 to really make a difference to jump to B. But even then, it will still be stuck in C. It doesn't do that much. It's not the best weapon to pick up for a main DPS catalyst. Okay, now the next weapon will be, where is it? Okay, the Vonius Codect. This weapon right here has a subset of element recharge, and the passive is crit hit has 60% to 100% chance to generate small particles orbs. To be honest, this ain't it, bro. Not it. Do not use this weapon. What's the point of using this weapon as a main DPS? Something's mentally wrong with you, etc., etc., etc. There's better weapons out there. It don't help you. It's just not worth. Okay, unless you're gonna put this on a support catalyst user and then like jump their crit rate to 100% and then switch to your main catalyst. That's the only reason why I see this weapon ever being useful. But other than that, do not use this weapon as a main DPS. Something's mentally wrong with you. Now, the next weapon will be the Mappa Mare. And this weapon right here has a subset element mastery, and every time that it triggers an element reaction, it gains 8 to 16% element damage bonus for 10 seconds. And it has a max of 2. I'm going to say that this ain't it, but you can argue for a C tier. You can argue it for. It's just that you will have to have high refinements. Refinements is the only reason why it will go in C tier, but if you have low refinements, then it's still going to be a D tier. The damage on this weapon will not outdo the Black Cliff. It will come. It won't even get close, to be honest. And that's if we add the killing from the Black Cliff. If we're not using like hitting the enemies or killing them and whatnot, this weapon will still outdo the Mappa Mare, even to a certain degree, even to refinements. So to be honest with you, I wouldn't use this weapon as a main DPS. Unless you're going to be playing like a character like Lisa. That's the only time this weapon is ever useful. Other than that, this weapon is completely garbage. Now, next weapon is the prototype Ember. It has a substat of HP. And with this passive, using element burst regenerates 4 to 6 element energy every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. What's the point? It's like a what's the point weapon. There's no point of using this. It's more for like a healer per se. That's really it. That's all I can really give you on this weapon. It's not useful. I just don't see a point. I just don't. Next weapon that we have is Grimoire. Now, this subset has attack percent, and the passive is upon dealing damage to an opponent, increase crit rate by 8 to 16. Max is 5 stacks. A crit hit removes all existing stats. And I need to be ranging them by order, by the way. Wait, no, this is better. Yeah. So, I would like to argue that it should be in D tier, the Royal Grimoire, but it can sit in D tier because of the passive. I mean, not passive, but because of the substat. But other than that, this weapon is useless. There's no point. Never buy this weapon from the shop. Never do it. Never, 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 never do it. It's no point. You will waste your star glitter on this weapon. You'll feel like you just committed a sin. Okay, you need to go talk to God about repenting. No, not a good weapon. It's just, no. Okay. Now, the next weapon we have is the Sacrificial Fragment. D tier. What's the point of using this weapon? There's no point. It's gonna sit higher than all of these at least, to a certain degree. But like, other than that, like, bro, there's no point, bro. There's no point at all. Okay. Next weapon is the Solar Pearl. It's first weapon that will sit in B, while this normal actually does something. Surprisingly, with the Solar Pearl, with the crit rate as the substat, and then like normal attacks hit, increase element skill and element burst damage for 6 seconds. Likewise, element skill and element burst increases the normal attack. This actually does good. Okay. The other thing is, you just gotta make sure that you use the element skill first, then use your element skill and element burst to keep the rotation going on this weapon. And even on the cooldown, it does pretty good. Okay, if you equip this with a Ningguang, a Miko, a Yangfei, a Klee, any of those characters that just uses catalyst weapons and they want to be a main DPS, or you're trying to make them like one, you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot go wrong with a Solar Pearl. Okay, if you have one, even at low refinements or high refinements, put this on them. And then 2, the crit rate is also nice because that means you can work on other stuff for your substats and not worry about crit rate. Okay, good weapon all around. It's hard to really like pass this weapon up. Now, next thing that I'm going to say is the Withstiff with a substat with a crit damage, and like every time your character that has this weapon is on the field, it does a rotation between these 3 different passives. So you either get attack, you either get element mastery, or you get element damage. Now, I would say, and this is probably gonna make people feel some type of way, but I'm actually gonna put it in C. The reason why I'm putting this in C, okay, don't get me wrong, the Withstiff does amazing damage. It does really, really good, but it's only good for your element skill and element burst, not your normal. Okay, first off, the cooldown, like you have to wait 30 seconds for this cooldown. Okay, you gotta wait rotation. Okay, that means no normal, my guy. You don't use normals with this weapon. Okay, you only use element skill, element burst, you get off. You don't use normal. So because of that, there's no point of using the Withstiff or trying to put it in B or A or any of that. Okay, if we was trying to label a good catalyst weapon, then it will actually sit in B or A or even S. But to be honest, if we're looking for like normals to be included to feel some type of way, then it's gonna sit lower, my guys. This weapon is not the greatest because of that factor, because of that cooldown. Your damage drops significantly. It's just not that good. I would not give this to any main DPS character that you're going to use autos with. Okay, if you're going to just spam their element skill, element burst, then I give it to them. Other than that, no, do not give it to them. Okay. The next weapon that we have on the list is a Wine and Song. Okay, the passive, no, my fault. The substat is element mastery, element recharge. The passive is hitting an enemy with a normal attack decreases the stamina consumption in sprint and ultra sprint. What's the point? It's another what's the point weapon. It's no point of using it, to be honest. It's, yeah, there's just no point. Like, give it to a person that you're gonna either be a support or like gonna help out your main DPS, but other than that, this thing is useless. Yeah, so the next weapon is going to be the, what is it called? What is it called? The Eye Perception. It's going to go in B tier. It's going to go in B tier. Now, this weapon right here, passive is an attack percent. The substat is attack, and the passive is normal attack and charge attack have 50% chance to fire a bolt of perception, dealing a certain percent of an attack as a damage. This bolt can bounce between opponents in a maximum 4 times. This effect can occur every 12 to 8 seconds. 12 to 8 seconds, depending on your refinements. Refinement wise, it's good. It's really good at refinements. But other than that, if you're dealing with one enemy, then it's no point. It kind of feels like the Black Cliff, for example, but it actually does better, especially because of the passive. But it's just better at dealing with enemies in a group than opposed of dealing on 1v1. So yeah, but it's gonna sit in B tier because it just does better than the Black Cliff. The Frostbearer is another weapon that is a attack substat. The passive for this is hitting an enemy with a normal charge attack has 60 to 100% chance to form a dropping icicle, and then dealing like 80 to 140% of attack. You have to deal with cryo, and I'm just gonna be real. Have Mihoyo ever gave us a Catalyst cryo character? Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, no point. No point. Okay, even if you build this and we do get a cryo Catalyst, it's only gonna be here. That's it. It's only gonna sit in D tier. It's not gonna go to C, not gonna go to B, not gonna go A. It's going to sit at D once we do get one. But other than that, this thing will stay at F. There's no point in using it. So much better weapons than this weapon. So sorry to break it to you, but it will definitely be sitting there. And it's gonna sit up. It's actually gonna sit up here, but still F tier. Okay. Now, the next weapon will be the Dodotells. Dodotells, again, as most weapons that we've been doing so far, it has a substat that is attack. The passive is normal attacks hits on opponent increases charge attack damage by 60 to 32% for 6 seconds, and charge attacks hits an opponent increase attack by 18 to 16% for 6 seconds. It actually will sit at B tier, and it will actually sit in front of Eye of Perception. The reason why is on a 1v1 scale, this weapon will outperform this weapon. Okay, but on a group, then this weapon will outperform this weapon. Refinement wise, it will still outdo the weapon. Dodotells will still outdo High Perception even at Refinement 5 versus the other one being at Refinement 5. So really deep down, it all just comes down to when are you using it. Are you using it in group setting or are you using it solo? Solo, Dodotells. Group, Eye of Perception. Next weapon will be the Huskin Ring. It has a substat element recharge. Its passive is after character equipped with this weapon trigger electro elemental reaction. Nearby party members element type involves in the element reaction receives 10 through 20% element damage bonus for their element lasting 6 second element burst. Elemental bonus gained in any other way cannot be stacked. Now, the reason why I'm kind of pondering this, I have seen videos with people using sucrose, but realistically though, like, who's gonna use sucrose like a main DPS with this weapon? And if you do, and you're one of those people who's watching, kudos to you, my friend. But in all honesty, the only person that can really use this weapon is her. And so it's actually gonna sit in D. Well, my fault. It's gonna sit in C. I give you that. It sits in C. But you're mainly gonna be like, I'd rather use my element skill element burst. Refinement 5, Refinement 0, nothing has really changed. It's still going to sit here. The damage is not going to outdo any of these two weapons that's in at C. If you're going to use Suclose, then it's going to sit in front of all these weapons right here. If you're not using Suclose, then there's no point using this weapon. Okay? The Oathsworn Eye. Now, I haven't tested out this weapon yet. Okay, I'm going to be honest. So I don't know everything about it. But it has an attack as a substat. And the bonus or the passive is increased element recharge by 24 through 48 for 10 seconds after using an element skill. This weapon is going to sit at D. It's going to sit at D. But it's going to sit higher than all these other weapons. If you're using this on Miku, makes sense. If you're going to use it on Young Fei, this makes sense. But other than that, this weapon is no points. This just not it. It's really not it. Yeah. And actually, I feel better. Yeah, I'm going to sit at D. I'm going to take my word back. And I'm actually going to put the ring down at D. So yeah. Next weapon will be the first 5-star that we're gonna talk about, the Lost Prayer. With this weapon, it has a substat that is crit rate. The passive is you gain increased movement speed by 10 seconds. When battle, gain 18 to 16 elemental damage bonus for 4 seconds. Max is 4. Last until like either you leave or you die. Just trying to think. The weapon substat is good, but in all reality, C. You would rather just use the element skill and element burst. That's really it. It's not good for a main DPS. Like, don't get me wrong. Is it universally good? Yes. Can you use it on any character that is a catalyst? Yes. But we're thinking about normal attacks here, okay? We're not thinking about just universally. So because of that, it's gonna sit at C. That's the best it can do. Okay. Damage is pretty good, I would say. Compared to these three, it's fine where it's at, to be honest. So the second 5-star that we got is the Skyward Atlas. It's gonna be an A tier. That thing's, it's a monster. Like, if you have this weapon even at refinement 0 or at refinement 5, you want to put this on any character that you're using as a main DPS catalyst. Just hands down. It beats out every weapon here. It does not change. It, like any 5-star that we're going to pick from at this point on, it's not going to outdo it. There's no 5-star other than the Skyward Atlas itself that can outdo the Skyward. Okay? That's it. So just making that clear now. Okay, but now let me get into the substat, which is attack percent, and the passive is elemental damage bonus. You get increased element damage bonus by 12 through 24%. Normal attacks have 50% chance to earn their favor of the cloud, which actually seeks out the opponent. So think about like a little flying thing, okay, and it seeks out the enemy. It goes to them. It does like white damage. And then it deals 160 to about 320 attack percent from your own attack. And it can occur every 30 seconds. Even with the passive being on a cooldown, the attack percent that you get from this weapon, and the scaling on this weapon is really nutty. And the only problem is you just don't have crit rate or crit damage. So like you kind of have to deal with trying to get the best out of your ratios when it comes out to artifact wise. But if you are able to achieve that, like Skyward Atlas 100% outbeats any weapon that's going to be a main DPS. Just going to say that again. It just will. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. Okay, normal attacks is nutty. It does a lot more. Just saying. Now, next weapon is the Memory of Dust. The Memory of Dust. I'm gonna actually say it's A. I'm gonna say A. This weapon gets looked over heavily. Okay, really, really heavily. And to be honest, if you have refinements for this weapon, it does really good. Without refinements, it still does pretty good. But to be honest, unless you're gonna be the type of person, well, hold on. Let me go ahead and talk about the substat. So the substat is attack, and the passive is increase shield strength by 20 to 40%. Scoring hits on the opponent, increase attack by 4 to 8 for 8 seconds. Max stack can only occur once every 0.3 seconds. While protected by a shield, this attack increase effect is increased by 100%. You get the best out of this weapon if you have a shield. If you use Zhongli, Diona, any of the other character that just provides you with a shield, like, bro, people are sleeping on this weapon, but any person who has this weapon should use this weapon if you're gonna make a character as a main DPS. It's pretty nutty. Okay, it's just that a lot of people want to say this weapon is bad instead of like actually doing what the weapon asks you to do and put it with a character that uses a shield. It's not that hard. It's not hard to think about. Then two, you can like also put the artifacts, the what is it called? The one that gives you like increased shield strength and whatnot, and being shielded, like you get like an attack percent for something. Like, if you have that on plus with this weapon, you're doing crazy numbers. Okay, it won't be out the Skyward, but like people like to downplay this weapon too much. And to be honest, it should have more praise than what people think it is. Okay. Now the everlasting Moonglow, or the donuts per se. The substat is HP. The passive is element burns increased by 10 to 20%. Normal attacks increased by 1 to 3.0% of the max health. Carry equipping this weapon for 12 seconds after using an element burst. Normal attacks that hit an opponent will restore 0.6 element energy. Energy can be restored this way every 0.1. It's only good. It's only good for Kokomi. That's it. This weapon is not to be used. This weapon is not supposed to be for a main DPS. It's not going to be used for a main DPS other than freaking Kokomi. And even if you have a Kokomi, you have this weapon, you have Refinement 1, Refinement 0, Refinement 5. Guess what, buddy? It's at C tier, my guy. Bottom line. Now, if you're going to use Kokomi, it's going to sit at C tier. If you're not using Kokomi, oh, my fault, or Barbara, it's going to sit in D tier. Okay? Those two characters is the only reason why it's keeping it at C. And really, Kokomi is the reason why. Other than that, my guy is sitting at D tier. Without a doubt. Okay? Just going to be real. Okay? Now, next weapon that I'm going to talk about, is the final one, is the Kagura Dance, or Kagura of Vanity, Yamiku's signature weapon. It actually will sit in B tier. Surprisingly, it's not an A tier. It's a B tier actually. Okay, So this weapon has crit damage as the substat. The passive is and when using element skill, causing elements of skill damage of the character when this weapon is increased by 12 to 24% for 16 seconds. Max stack is 3. This character will gain 12 to 24% all element damage bonus when possessed with 3 stacks. You have to use your element skill in order for this to work or proc or whatever my case may be. And so the only way this will work is by using either Yangfei, Ningguang, Miku, and that's really it. And even then, this weapon does not do normals the justice that I thought it was gonna do. But this weapon, hands down, is universally the best weapon. The best. Okay? But again, it's not for normals. It's just universally good. It gets away with, though, the scaling of the weapon and the substat. That's the only reason why people will say, oh yeah, you can use it for normals, is because of that reason alone. But other than that, taking that away, it's not really there for it. It's not really an A tier worthy type of weapon. It's not really going to be that beneficial. So I reckon that if you do have this weapon, don't shy away from it, or don't throw it away, or like don't use it. I would say definitely use it, even though it's not for like normals. Okay, it sits on par with a Solar Pearl per se on like the normals. So yeah. Yeah, so that's my tier list on a main DPS catalyst. That's all I really want to talk about with you guys. If you guys like the video, then feel free to leave me a comment. Tell me which weapon that you disagree with. Tell me which one that you do agree with. And what do you think? What you think which weapon sits in a tier? And do you think my tier list is wrong? I'm really just trying to talk more about the light of a main DPS catalyst. I really want a 5-star that can do it. If Mihoyo succeeds in giving me one, I'm gonna play them like I'm on cocaine. Okay, I want that, which is why I play Ningguang. I don't like Yongfei, but Ningguang is for me personally. But yeah, I'm catch you guys later. Yeah.